Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And we got an episode today that I hope the whole world hears, but definitely important for small business owners. We're talking about how to disagree respectfully, of course. And it's just a topic, especially in the year we're in the political climate we're in. There's a lot of disagreements, and I think we could all just do a little bit better of a job. So I have a guest with me to walk through that process, and hopefully it helps you grow your business too, and your culture, build a culture of people who respect each other, and you can move your business forward. So without any further ado, Philip Blackett, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Happy to be here with you.
So this is a topic that I think a lot of people get wrong, or at least their approach is not so awesome in this realm. So tell me, where did you get the idea of how to disagree respectfully? Because I think we all want to do it, but the execution of it is a totally different story.
Right. So it's one of those things, Brandon, that the ideal is worthwhile, but we don't know necessarily how to execute towards that ideal. Right. So you think about it where, for me, for example, growing up, there were three things I was told not to discuss at the dinner table: politics, religion, and money. Now, those same three apply, but now it's since we add on a whole nother list of topics where basically, if we have a difference of opinion on just about any topic or any issue in particular, now we're running the risk of alienating ourselves from our loved ones, getting the cold shoulder from fellow employees, cursed out on social media, or even unfriended, unfollowed, swiped left, or passed over for a job opportunity, simply because we have a difference of opinion. And the thing is, Brandon, it's not as if disagreement is the issue here. We've had disagreements since the beginning of time, I would imagine. The moment we had humans on the earth, we didn't all agree on the same thing. But to the point where one of my friends shared with me, to paraphrase her, is not disagreement that destroys relationships, it's disrespect. And so the thing is, I think a lot of us can agree on that we like to be able to engage with one another respectfully when we disagree on certain things. We just don't know exactly how. And so that was one of the motivating parts for me, just from out of personal experience, to say, hey, can we come up with a simple 5-step framework that can basically teach people how to better approach conversations you have with just about anybody, from your boss to your team members to your family members, your significant other, friends of yours. Because the truth of it is, Brandon, if we're being honest with ourselves, and I'll use you and me as an example. If you and I spent a whole day together, I can guarantee you two things. One, I can guarantee you we're going to find some things that we have in common, some common ground we agree on. We almost feel like brothers. I can also guarantee you another thing. We spend the whole day together, we're probably going to find something that we don't see eye to eye on, that we have disagreement on. There's something I would chalk it up to diversity of thought, right? And that's the case with anybody. You know, for someone to say, like, I've been with somebody all my life and we've agreed on everything, that's a lie. So it's not the question as far as finding people that you agree on with. And if that's the case, you're probably not digging deep enough in your conversations. You're probably keeping it surface enough on the level to prevent yourself from possibly hitting on a landmine of disagreement and what that can entail. So essentially, it's one that's, I wrote a book called Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. And the main goal is to really give people that sense of rules of engagement that we frankly lost that can help us navigate these type of tough conversations, candid questions, and you know, daunting debates, for lack of a better word, that we may have with one another, but still be able to say, "Hey, it's possible, Brandon, that I can disagree with someone's views and yet still respect and love that person in a healthy relationship."
Yeah, it's just so evident to me that this is a lost art. And you said you have a five-step process. I'm curious to dig into that a little bit, but you see both sides of this where if you go on social media, any platform at any minute of the day, this is happening. Somebody gets on there, they share their opinion, and then 3 days later, you find out that this video blew up, it went viral, and they were fired. And I definitely don't agree with that that result. I mean, regardless of what they said, there's very few things where you should just be immediately fired for what you said online. The flip side of that is, I think of a scenario with me personally, with extended family. I won't name sides, but there is a side that is so shallow and surface level that you don't know anything about them because they won't go past the surface to avoid disagreements at any cost. And I also think that's very wrong as well. So I want to be educated here because on how to do this the right way, because when you go into the boardroom or when you go into meetings with your employees, I would hope there's disagreements. I mean, we want it when we consult our clients, we actively try to stir up disagreements because if someone's not on board with the plan and they don't voice it, then it's going to fall apart. Like we need to know what those things are and address them and move forward. So I want to hear from you. Can we dive into this 5-step plan a little bit? And if people want more, they can obviously go get your book. We'll put a link to that down in the show notes below. But where do we start here?
Yeah, I think the to set the groundwork or the framework here, two quick things on what you said, Brandon, and then we'll get into the framework. One, as business owners and entrepreneurs, ask yourself, do we truly value diversity then? Because I would argue diversity is beyond what you see on the outside. Diversity also includes how somebody thinks on the inside. And to your point, when it comes to innovation in a business, oftentimes it's having the status quo juxtaposed with a new idea or a new perspective that somebody was bold enough, courageous enough to share for people to consider and to criticize and later on even adopt. But if we don't have those settings, how can we possibly move forward? Because here's what the thing I would say to you, Brandon. Just because somebody doesn't say an idea doesn't mean they haven't thought about it before. Just because they haven't shared it with you doesn't mean that they may not have shared it with somebody else behind closed doors, with someone they felt more comfortable with, more trusting of, more alike in how they see the world. And they just say, hey, maybe it's not the right time or the right setting to share this with someone outside of myself or outside of a select few. So, to your point, how do we engender a place where people are more comfortable and feel more safe to share these type of, you know, countercultural, revolutionary, out of the box type of thinking? This framework can help. So, the first step is we have to separate the idea or belief from the identity of the believer. And what does that mean, Brandon? Essentially, depending on the person you talk to, the idea at hand you're talking about, that idea may be so intertwined with that person you're talking to that it essentially becomes who they are. It becomes their identity. And the challenge with that is if you bring up this idea in the boardroom, per se, and someone critiques it, that person may feel like you're critiquing them. If you disagree with it, if you criticize and that sort, that person may take it personal, might get defensive, might actually come at you aggressively to save face, especially if this is done in a public setting. So now they're concerned about what other people are thinking and they're trying to protect themselves, their ego. They're in a self preservation stage where things could get pretty nasty pretty quickly. But all you're talking about is just the idea. But sometimes it's helpful to understand what you may see as just an idea may be different from the person you're talking to. So that awareness is key. Second step is you can disagree with the idea or belief and still respect and love the believer. So that is essentially a play that I learned in church where we're called to hate the sin and love the sinner. Because two things can be true. I can respect you as my colleague on the team, and I disagree with your proposal. And just because I disagree with your proposal doesn't mean I look at you any less as a team member. But unfortunately, a lot of us are living this lie that to respect and love somebody means you have to agree and affirm them on everything. And that's not the case. But the quicker we can make that be known that that's not the case, the better it is, because you might be unaware of the people that are on your team and your organization that think that way. So that probably makes those type of conversations and debates much tougher to be had in the boardroom or in the meeting room, and you're wondering why is this such a serious thing. So if you set the groundwork in place with those first two steps, now you go into step 3, which is essentially debating the issue at hand primarily based on its merits. And what do I mean by merits? I'm talking about including facts, logic, analysis, research, statistics, performance, reviews, and here's a big one: results. Oftentimes when you're in business, it's very much trying to be as close to a meritocracy as possible, where you're trying to be as objective as you can to say which option is better, which one is going to give us the better return on investment, which one is going to move us forward better for us, right? So trying to make this a more apples to apples comparison makes it a lot better for us to go and make a decision about it. What complicates it is if we get involved in name calling, because I believe once you get into name calling, the debate is over. There's nothing good that can come out of this. And the other thing you have to watch out for is not get caught up in over drawn out emotional responses and reactions, where now all of a sudden you can't even move on to the next segment of your debate because now you're looking for Kleenex to wipe somebody's tears because you said that their idea stinks. So keeping it at the issue at hand is very much helpful once you set the framework with those prior two steps to keep the person intact and they feel comfortable and safe to be vulnerable, to be open, to be honest, to be candid, to be helpful towards you as a team. And then step 4, regardless of the outcome, Brandon, whether it's you coming to my side or vice versa, we agreeing to disagree, or essentially some third alternative that wouldn't have came out unless we actually had this conversation to begin with and being open and honest with one another. Regardless of that, we should do what we often did when we were playing sports as young people. At the end of the game, win or lose, what did we do as teams?
Good game.
We said good game, we shook hands, and we moved on. Good sportsmanship is valuable when we were young, partly because it was teaching us what we should do when we become adults. Meaning, good sportsmanship is still needed when you're in business because no one likes a sore loser. No one likes a sore winner either, especially going to be working with them ongoing. And finally, step 5, respect and appreciate the person you just had that debate with in the boardroom. And even if you disagree, ultimately still, you can chalk it up as, hey, this is an environment where diversity of thought is important. But more importantly, keep the door open for continued conversation to learn more about that person. Like, hey, Brandon, I didn't know that was the reason why you backed up this option. I didn't know the backstory behind it. That was really interesting. Thank you for telling me that. I would have never known had I at least asked you. I know there's an event that's happening for professional development, and maybe next week, let's talk about the same topic. Why don't we go together and then talk about it some more after lunch? You see, what's happening is that debate no longer becomes just a one-off transaction, like me versus you. Somebody has to be superior, somebody has to lose. It's a win-lose, winner take all type of match. No, this is more of we're learning about each other, we're sharing information, and more importantly, we're building a relationship, because hopefully the relationship is more important than who's right or who's wrong.
I love the 5 steps, and it's challenging to find a place where people are doing this effectively, which is most of the reason why I was excited to have this conversation, because it's so crucial. But one of the things that comes to my mind is this DEI movement. And when you were talking about step 3 in this framework, that popped in my head because by definition, it conflicts itself. You can't have diversity and inclusion in the definition that they want to describe it in that word or in that phrase DEI. So diversity of thought is frankly all I care about. Just like you said, because why does the way somebody looks have any influence on what they're thinking? It doesn't. As a matter of fact, it could do completely the opposite. You could have two people think identical and look completely different. It has no merit. Anyway, the first step though is really where you set up the basis for that conversation. It's the I word there, inclusion, that we just totally missed the mark on. We think that and you said this, you have to like bow down to people and you have to submit to everything they think and you can't offend them. So when you're going in and you're attacking the belief, not the believer, who's bending there? Because if you look on the internet, there's so many people who just get instantly offended when you say anything about their idea. They think you are attacking the believer. So is it me coming to you saying, Philip, this is nothing to do with you, I just want to talk about that one thing you said? Or is it that person also putting on their big boy pants and saying, okay, I know they're not attacking me, they're talking about my idea? Like, how do you navigate that in practice in real time?
Yeah, so I think part of it, Brandon, is you're essentially setting the culture in your workplace, because I would imagine there are probably some settings, and if I think like long enough, I could think of some where part of their culture is the understanding that everyone basically signs up for that. Hey, at the end of the day, when we come to work, the best idea wins. I don't care who it comes from. I don't care what he or she looks like. Not so much a care in the world about their background, outside of, hey, everyone's expected to participate. Everyone's expected to give their best foot forward and provide ideas for us to consider. And at the end of the day, we can be good sports about whatever idea wins, because we're still all on the same team. And that idea is going to benefit us all. That sort of approach, if more of our businesses and companies had that sort of approach, DEI in and of itself would not be needed as much. The reason why is because another frame of thought is thinking, if I bring in people that look differently, I'll have different perspectives to consider. But it makes the assumption that the only way you can get a different perspective is if you have someone that looks differently from you. And that's not always the case. You can have someone that looks different, comes from a different background, but is quiet, is reticent to share anything. Or when he or she opens their mouth, you question, how did you make it past second round interviews in the first place? Right? So I think part of it is you have to figure out what is ultimately important. Do you want your company to be just a melting pot when you look at faces and backgrounds and different things you see on the outside, right? Or is it more so the sense that we have a mix of people from different thoughts and ideologies and worldviews and education and experiences, that when we get in the room, we don't know exactly what's going to come out when we come out. But what we do know is, more than likely, we're going to have an honest debate. We're going to keep it objective, keep it as close to factual as possible. And we focus on whatever the best idea is for the team. That's what wins, because it's not so much the person that comes up with the idea, because at the end of the day, when we implement that idea, all of us are aligned. All of us are together. And it may be your idea today, but it may be somebody else's idea tomorrow. It is what it is. but let's not be kids about that. Let's not cry over that. Let's bring up our big boy pants, our big girl panties in that sense as well, and say, listen, let's be adults about it because we have a job to do for our organization. And if that's the best way for us to come up with it, then that's the best way we come up with it.
I love it. I'm a little bit excited to read the comments on this episode. But if you put a nasty comment, please go re-listen to the episode because I don't think you got the whole point. But anyway, Philip, no, this has been an awesome conversation, and one, like I said, I think just with the culture we're in right now, more companies need to be focusing on this topic rather than building a culture of inclusivity, because that's where cultures and innovation and companies go to die. And I've just seen that play out time and time again. If you don't prioritize respectful disagreements, your company just can't grow. So thank you for being here. Where do you want people to go if they want to learn more about what you're doing, maybe get a copy of your book as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in reading my book, Disagree Without Disrespect, How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You, it's available on Amazon, both the paperback and ebook version. Just go on Amazon, look it up by the book title, or look it up by my name, Philip Blackett, Philip Blackett. And you can also connect with me on my website, dreambusinessmakeover.com, or look me up on social media by my name, Philip Blackett, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
I love it. That's awesome. We'll put I put the dreambusinessmakeover.com on the screen here if you're watching. Wherever you're watching or listening, all of those links that Philip mentioned are down below in the show notes. You can go grab a copy of the book, check out the website, follow him on social media. Philip, I love to end these episodes though with a question. We believe at What If, powerful questions get powerful answers. And in the context of building a better culture, building a culture of innovation, building a culture, probably most importantly, of respect. What is the powerful question you want the listener to ask themselves so that they can start to develop that culture for their organization?
In a growing, polarized world we live in more so than before, what is truly most important in your culture to foster a great business?
That's awesome. I love that question. Philip, thank you so much for being here. This is a great episode.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. And I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you.
I love it. And who are you voting for, by the way? No, I'm kidding. Stop it. We're not asking those questions anymore.
I don't mind saying that. You just might have to extend the episode a little bit longer. That's all.
Then we're gonna have to read the comment section. I don't want to have to do that. But either way, thank you for being here. Wherever you're watching or listening, we love having you. We love putting these episodes out 5 days a week. Get this too. If you want to join our community, we're building a community of small business owners who want to build companies like this with respect, with innovation. Go on over to whatif.com/group. It'll take you to our Facebook group. Absolutely free to join. Come hang out. Be a good person. That's all we ask. But make sure you subscribe to the show too. We want to bring these episodes to you 5 days a week, help you grow your business, get outside of that box, and build a more harmonious business and life. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode.